Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you as always. And to my American viewers, happy 4th. Just if you happen to celebrate that, it's just another day, but it's happy 4th nonetheless. So, anyway, very, very excited to be with you guys. I'm going to be addressing an interesting topic, and I know the mainstream media will not. Yes, you heard me. Will not touch on this subject. And the reason being because that's one of our way, at least I remember my days in Washington and how we used to listen in to the phone calls of the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and do whatever we do. And all this was through the satellites that, well, today I'm going to be talking to you about what Iran did and what is the big implications of overall and how that means, for example, is the US satellite dominance coming to an end? So this is what I'm going to be addressing for you here, in addition to providing you some history about the Chinese system, Beidou. Then I'll say if there's any question from you in the super chat, I will answer that one for you. So, but first, let's, like we always do, let me say hi to our wonderful community. Liang, good to see you. Willie Holman, as always. Nurse Traveler, good to see you here. Abdul Fal, good to see you. Arlene Chambers. Arlene, I haven't seen you for a while, so hope all is well. So good to see you here, man. Time Dunkley, as always from New York City. Matt Backey, avid supporter of the channel. Cam35, good to see you. Francis Tango, as always. Sam Karina, good to see you. Alice Talokin, Taiwan still. Fred Ball, good to see you. And who else is here that we haven't seen for a while? Yeah, that's about it here. So anyway, these people will show up later on. So before I'll delve deeper into today's topic, some housekeeping items. Be on the lookout for, I'm going to have some guests next week. I'm going to be making the arrangements this coming within the next 24 hours or so. Excuse me. And I'll be having some very, very interesting guests. You don't want to miss that session. You know me, guys. I don't just invite whomever. So second thing is I have prepared some topics for you. That one's going to be recorded, is going to be released soon, and other ones I am working on, and I will be sharing that with you next week. You don't want to miss those. And you know me, I don't follow the crowd. I'll do what's interesting and what you can learn from. That is exactly what I am going to be doing with you. I have one announcement to make, and I'm going to put the link in the chat box. You can check out my speaking website that I just finished it yesterday, thanks to Elizabeth. I give credit to Elizabeth. She's the one who helped me out with this. So anyway, that's the link there if you ever want to check it out, because I am going to be going on some speaking engagements. So if you don't see me, whatever, that's basically the reason why. So anyway, let's get into our topic here. So I'm going to be talking about today Iran disabling US GPS. But at the same time, it didn't just disable that, it switched and moved to China's Beidou. So, under no circumstances, no matter how you look at it, first of all, you're going to have to think about why is this significant? That's one question you need to ask yourself. Second question is, how will this shape now the trajectory of security, both financially and militarily? Because if you think anything about the GPS system and satellites and all that, we're not using it just for navigation. No, I'm not using it just for guided missiles and so forth. There are the financial aspect is also part of this. So, and with Iran moving into this direction, is this now paving the way? And as a matter of fact, I just found out that some African countries now are dumping GPS in favor of Beidou. So, and one of the key questions we need to ask is this now, with this act by Iran, is this now taking, where will it take the recent conflict in West Asia? Will it take it to the next level? And under no circumstances, don't assume, excuse me, don't assume that the conflict between Israel and Iran is over. It is not. there are some works going on behind the scenes, especially on Iran side. Iran didn't even show its advanced missiles. Excuse me. I thought it was over, but it's not. So, but anyway, this is why, and as I said, the media is not addressing this as Iran is shutting down the U.S. GPS system and migrating to Chinese Beidou. So, and makes you just wonder, why is the mainstream media is not addressing this? So, excuse me. At the same time, is this part of Iran grand strategy? It's because by moving into Beidou, Iran gets now technologically superior system in some areas. So, and one specific aspect of it is that Iran does not have to worry whether or not someone in the West will disrupt it. Excuse me. Because that is the key, is that the GPS system has that ability of we can shut it down anytime we want. In other words, we're controlling the countries. So by Iran doing this, it's like, okay, we're not even providing any opportunity for this one here. So, and makes you just now wonder about how far now Iran and China is gonna go or move forward. So I'm gonna share a clip with you from the Iranian ambassador to China. So, and his name is Mohammed Keshavarz Zadeh. So take a listen, guys.
Between Iran and China is not just on the basis of the officials or government, it's heart to heart. The people of the Iran and the people of the China, they connected to each other from 1,000 years ago through the Silk Road. The people of the Iran, they know the China. Even there is some proverb in Persian, it said, if you want science, you should go to China.
The Silk Road, as you mentioned, what does the Belt and Road Initiative, what real benefits have the Belt and Road Initiative brought to Iran today?
Iran has a good opportunity because geographically, Iran is based on between the East and West. So we are like a bridge. We can provide such an opportunity for the BRI to connect to the Europe and to the Middle East.
He is spot on in the idea that geographically is a very, very strategic. And now adding this dimension of the technological aspect by having Iran shutting down GPS, it just makes it even more challenging now for the US to even have an eyes and ears on. This is what this is about, guys. I just need you to understand this aspect. So when you take into the consideration the next level that now Iran is going to get involved after kicking out the GPS system altogether. So, and because with this act, what you're going to need to understand and think of it always about it from militarily, from a security perspective, from a financial, and also from the ability of influencing the trajectory of events. So, because with this act, Iran basically now, by blocking all the signals within its own border, while switching, because there was another alternative to Beidou, that's usually now, it's going to pave the way. It's going to pave the way now for the Chinese system, which, by the way, and I'm going to talk to you about the history of Beidou briefly here, because you need to understand it. It's going to sort of almost cement that notion of the value and the technologically advanced systems of Beidou vis-a-vis that of GPS. And I don't claim to know much about the technological infrastructure. What I know is that the speed by which Beidou transmits information is faster than that of GPS. That is why. And when you consider what Iran is thinking within this realm, and what they are thinking about is building the 5th generation internet infrastructure inside the country. So all this, excuse me, I have a picture. I need to share it with you. I didn't upload it. Allow me to do this quickly here, guys, because I have it on my desktop. It's called Hackers. There we go. So, and why is this important? Is this important for you to know, which, by the way, the news has not kicked out yet in the US, nobody's talking about it in the US, is that Iran is sitting on 100 gigabytes of Trump's aides' emails. Just think about it for a second. 100 gigabytes of emails. So, and that includes emails that goes even back to his former advisor, Roger Stone, and the current White House staff, Susie Wiles, who I mentioned to you in the last video, or the second one before last, that she used to work for Bibi Netanyahu's office. So this is why, once again, Trump has been fed intelligence that is coming out of a Mossad, not the US intelligence agency. So now the interesting thing, and I'm not going to get into this now because that's not the key topic. It's just to highlight to you the idea of what we are doing to other countries now is coming to bite us in the butt. That's the reality. We have a taste of our own medicine. I mean, I can only imagine how devastating those emails are going to be. So there is no doubt about that. Liking this video so far? Don't just be a watcher. Go ahead and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And don't forget to tap the bell so you will not miss any of my videos or live streams. This way, you will be supporting a channel that stands for the truth and objective reporting. The choice is yours. Thanks for your support. Now, let's talk about why China decided to develop Beidou in the first place. And of course, and again, I'm going to provide just a brief history. When you think about the whole system, its own construction, and I'm going to be providing you a link that I got through the State Council of the People's Republic of China. So the PRC, that is. So here is a link. You can check it out later on in the chat box should you decide to do some reading on it. So suffice it to say that because you need to understand the development of it, it will make more sense to you. So the whole navigation system, this Beidou navigation satellite system, which, by the way, as of June 23rd, it was like the almost launched the 55th satellite of the Beidou family. So, and all this started back in the 1990s. And again, this is why I said back then in the 1990s, I made some argument to some close friends that you guys don't see what's coming ahead with China. Give it about 20 years or 25 and you will find out. And here we are. So, and that's why when you think about the Chinese launching this Beidou, which, by the way, is a Chinese term for the Big Dipper constellation. And as I said, it launched it back in the 1990s. What I need you to understand, and I'm going to go chronologically here briefly about the dates to make more sense to you. So the construction of the Beidou Satellite 1, I'm going to refer to them as BDS-1, which is the first step of the strategy. This one started in 1994 and it was completed in 2000. Then comes the BDS-2, Beidou System 2, started the construction in 2004. And by 2012, excuse me, 2012, a total of 14 satellites, including 5 geostationary Earth orbit, known as GEO. These terms are very important for you guys to understand. GEO satellites, 5 inclined geosynchronous Earth orbit known as IGSO satellites, and 4 medium orbit satellites known as MEO satellites. And all these have been launched to complete the entire deployment of the system. Okay. Then comes 2012, the BDS began providing positioning, navigation, and timing services to users in the Asia Pacific region. That's when it started first. Then you move up, and during that time, I was in Washington. I was aware of this kind of developments, and it became clear to me, guys, and I'm not saying this just to say it. It became clear to me that the Chinese dominance into the satellite sector or space, it's going to be felt. We're going to feel this one way or another. And it became even clear to me the day the Chinese used the laser, to shut down a satellite. And that became clear to me that their dominance is coming. And we're going to, what the US is going to be able to do? Nothing. Excuse me. And that is exactly, let me see if I have, I think I get some pictures for you guys. Yeah, this is one of them here. A part of this, the Beidou. So in 2014, the BDS augmentation system achieved now a positioning accuracy. And here is the kicker, guys. Accuracy within 1 meter, which is, you're talking from space all the way. The accuracy of 1 meter. That shows you how good the system is, which was a major breakthrough. And especially for what? It will be for the marine applications. That is what's the key. Then comes to, I have another image here. The 2015, that's when China launched the 20th BDS, Beidou system satellite. And for the first time, the satellite features a hydrogen atomic clock. So 2017, China launched the first 2 satellites for the BDS-3 system. 2018, China launched the 41st BDS satellites, also the first GEO satellites and the BDS-3 system. And that one orbiting about 36,000 kilometers above the Earth. So this is what I need you guys to understand. And I'm going to be done with this here because I need to move on into some other aspect. On June 2020, China completed the deployment of the whole Beidou system with the launch of the final Beidou satellites. And I remember the launch of this one here was carrying the final satellites for the Beidou system. So you need to understand this dynamics because it's very, very important. And that, to put it in perspective for Iran, because Iran before that, all the dependency of its missiles was dependent on the American satellites because we were dominating at that time. So, and that is what was the problem with Iran. And I think they came to the conclusion that it is now or never. Of course, the Israeli-Iran conflict precipitated that. The same argument that I've been making about Iran, the need for it to withdraw from the IAEA. I've been saying this since 2017 when a decision was made in Washington to pull the US out of the JCPOA accord. And I said, if Iran doesn't do it now, then it's on them. So the Iranian government, excuse me, even back then, they chooses not to do. Maybe they were thinking, well, maybe the Americans will come to their senses. No, the American government will never come to its senses. It will be a mistake to trust the US government. And I'll say it. I'm not shy away from saying that. It's the truth. So, and this is where you start to think in terms of, because the GPS for Iran at that time was not only to navigate in the country, but also about the civilians, is about the military objectives and purposes and so forth. So, and there was always, mark my word on this, for any country around the world that uses the US GPS, there is always a risk of the American turning that off anytime that we want to. let alone one big factor, and that one using this particular access for espionage, for surveillance, and for cyber attacks. Once again, don't get me wrong, other countries doing the same. It's just we have abused it. And again, I was very familiar with the case of the listening to the cell phone of Angela Merkel, and I was just shaking my head. It's like, is this how you treat an ally? It's just so. Suffice it to say, for Iran's decision now to switch its communication system with the Chinese Beidou, very, very crucial and important. And it came at a very sensitive time, because you have the vassal states in the region, the likes of, the Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, you name it. Even now, Syria now, you have to include that, because we just lifted the sanctions on Syria, and we are debating whether to let them use the SWIFT system. You all know what it means. We're going to control every transactions moving forward. So to the Iranian, as I said, it comes at a very, very crucial time. And this is why when you think about the American system, how it's used, I even had one time a conversation with Michael, my son. And I was like, hey, man, I forgot to ask you, do you have Facebook? He said, yeah, I do, but I don't use it much. And I said, okay, well, that's good to know. And the reason for me saying this, I was just asking him off the cuff questions, but it makes more sense in this conversation, because the American communication system that Iran was using, it was supported by 3 social media outlets: WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, and other digital communication tools, which, by the way, provided the real-time location. Let me share something with you guys to know, especially for my American viewers. Do you know, when you take a picture on your phone, right? You're going somewhere, whatever, you snap a picture, at least here in the US, and I'm sure it's overseas too. When you take that picture, there's a board inside the NSA, the National Security Agency, and they look at the picture the same way like I'm looking at you, except that when they look at that picture, they're looking at it with the coordinates as to where it was taken, thanks to the satellites. So that's why I make sure next time you snap a picture, just be aware. I'm talking about those, like, for example, teenagers have no clue that they're taking a selfie with no clothes on and all, stupidity. That's my point. And this is exactly when you think about why. So, and by the way, when this real time of government and military usage of the location, this is exactly what Israel used on June 13th, 2025. Because you need to understand why Iran, when it bombed and sent missiles to Israel, it targeted one particular location, and the technological hub or center, which, by the way, close to it, adjacent to it, was the offices of Microsoft. And when you think about Facebook, when you think about WhatsApp, when you think about the Instagram, you all know which navigation system, which system, operating system they use. So to put it in perspective, to Iran makes now perfect sense. Shut down the GPS, get rid of it altogether. This way you blind now the US in that part of the world. Then you move with the Chinese. So, and when you think about Facebook, which owns, by the way, WhatsApp, of course they have to deny the allegations. It's expected. It's like what Facebook said later on, that, they were pressured by the Biden administration to hack into some, they use the information basically. So, and that is why you have now the Iranian government urging their citizens to delete WhatsApp from their phone. We heard the same argument which was made about the Beidou vis-a-vis the US. It's for espionage and all that. And I'm gonna get into that soon here. So and because it became clear to Iran, here is the hard truth. it became clear to Iranian officials during the war with Israel. They realized how deadly it could be if it continued to depend on the American GPS, especially for military purposes. There's a great article out there, guys, that I'm going to be sharing with you later on. But I'm going to share it here. It was written by Sandra Irwin. And I kind of read up on her a few times. But that's not what I'm going to share is this picture right here. And I give credit to that article. Look at this picture here and look at the global assessments. And this one pertains to technology. As you notice, when you read the scale of the green color means none, the yellow square means some, and the red triangle means significant. So when you look at of the LEO co-orbital, the US, Russia, and China, the only countries that matter anyway. Then you look at the GEO, the one I read to you earlier. All countries, the three countries, US, Russia, and China, sort of have some presence of this. Then you look at the LEO direct ascent. China has a lead into this. Direct energy. This is very important to understand. This direct energy, and I'm going to remind you of what took place in Cuba a few years ago. Do you remember, guys, an event that took place in Cuba? Where some Canadian working at the Embassy of Canada in Havana, they said they don't know what hit them. They kind of start to have headaches and all that stuff. And this pertained to the direct energy weapons. The other one has to do with what took place in two locations. One is Turkey and one is Morocco with the earthquakes. Are those were really earthquakes, or was it a testing of a direct energy weapon? I'll let you decide. If you want to learn more about this, you need to go and dig into that kind of information. So suffice it to say, and that's why I wanted to share this with you. And this is where the space situational awareness, this one pertained to, meaning the three main leaders into the space race, US, Russia, and China, are aware of each other. But this gap is going to be closing for the United States, especially given that Russia and China have already made a decision to move forward with establishing a research lab on the surface of the moon. That's going to be dealing with the satellite navigation, but also certain aspects of weapons in space, because that's where it's moving into that direction. We are doing that. We have been doing that. The Russians and the Chinese are aware of it. But when you think about it, that's why you're seeing the gap is being closed. And this leads me to mention to you, as in the article that Sandra Irwin mentioned, that why Russia's space warfare capabilities are being ramped up. So during the last decade. And interesting enough, it's just during the last decade, the same time the Chinese were also upgrading and developing their own. As a matter of fact, this morning I just saw that China did a testing on some certain type of bomb, whatever that is, that can really wiped out a country altogether. And the way to understand the significance of Beidou, you think about the Chinese hypersonic missiles, which, by the way, we have nothing to defend against. This is why what took place against Iran gave the Chinese an idea. You will be able to take out the Americans. We won't get the Chinese will not get intimidated by these aspects of and that's why they went ahead and deployed the entire Beidou system. I have a picture of Nei Hangsang. He's the one who came from space. This is Chinese astronauts. When that was back in 2013, if I am not mistaken. So what's interesting about this is that because you think about the Russians, we're thinking in terms of what the era of the Soviet Union is over, but they don't want. This is why they didn't kind of the advantages they had back then were lost after the fall of the Soviet Union. The Chinese learned that hard lesson. So Then comes the other main reason also why the Chinese went ahead and developed their own navigation system, which, by the way, when I was in China, I could see just when I get into not a cab, but the equivalency of Uber in China, which, by the way, they were, man, accurate on time. They were on time when they said they will be there in 10 minutes. That means 10 minutes. So, and I could see on the screen on the dashboard the navigation system, which I could tell it's not GPS, but it was a very detailed, detailed to the T, with the accuracy and so forth. And that also was the result of our own stupid policies. Yes. What am I referring to here? So, because it was a silly reasons that we gave the Chinese not to be allowed into the ISS. You all remember? I was in Washington at that time and I shook my head when Obama at that time signed the bill to prevent any Chinese astronauts from accessing the ISS. And I said, what a stupid decision, because what you just did now is you told the Chinese, go ahead and build your own. And if the Chinese gets involved in something, they are not going to cut corners. It's a fact. I was there. I saw with my own eyes. And on the technological aspects, that is exactly what happened. And even back then, 2013, and I have the link that I digged into the archives to get that for you guys. I'm going to put it in the chat box for you for later. You can read it if you want to. The reason why US scientists boycotted NASA conference over China's ban. Of course, they didn't report on it openly. And to why? All they were saying, and now NASA was facing at that time, I remember, backlash from US researchers due to the rejection of the Chinese nationals from conference that NASA was hosting at that time. And he received a major backlash, and rightly so. And that was the reason, because it emerged that the space agency, meaning NASA that is, has banned Chinese scientists, including those working in US institutions, from a conference on the ground of national security. When they have no other justification, they sell you the national security arguments. You all remember 9/11, and after that, we abuse things, and this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. When they don't have a valid argument, it's like what we even see in our conversations. You get sometimes individuals just get emotional, and, well, wait a minute, put your bias aside, put your emotions aside, and let's argue pragmatically. If you have substance in your arguments, then let's hear it. This is why I kind of just while I'm thinking about it, I sent an email to Gordon Chang back then, about a month and a half ago, and I kind of extend an invitation for him to come on the channel, and I will debate him into really about this so-called collapse of China and so forth, but never even received a courtesy response. And that tells me right there. And that is what I'm trying to help you guys with, in our community at least. Don't fall for that, well, this is how it is. No. If you are to argue your point, make sure to have a valid argument regarding defending your hypothesis, your thesis, whatever that might be. And the same arguments happened when NASA just rejected the applications from Chinese nationals who were hoping to attend this summit. So what did China end up doing? They went ahead and built their own ISS, their own space station, that is. And this leads me now to address the idea of Beidou versus GPS. And this in itself is a silent war that exists on the tech front. Yeah, don't fall for the trade, don't fall for whatever. Yeah, it's all good, but look at the big picture. We are realizing, we in the United States are realizing we're losing the technological edge to China. Have been for the last decade, just is going quietly. This is why you're seeing, for example, with DeepSeek, what happened. And you heard right away that Mr. Trump is like, oh, we're going to invest $500 billion. And the billionaires, the tech billionaires, ain't about developing the real, excuse me, the real and accurate sort of artificial intelligence. No, it's not about that. It's not about that. And it doesn't need to cost $500 billion when the Chinese developed it at a $5 million. And by the way, I just find out, and please, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, that the Chinese now are giving the Beidou to whomever wants to use it. And of course, we are hearing the argument here, oh, it's espionage, is this, is that. I tried it just in my own curiosity. I don't use it for my conversation with you, but I tried it for my own. And you know what? The description that I got was as accurate as it gets to what I know, because I asked about something I am very familiar with. And that's, again, where that argument is. So when you think about the Chinese Beidou, and it was a great article by Sumit Ahlawat. So, and I'm going to put the article for you guys, because literally I couldn't agree more with his arguments. The idea that the splintering of now the navigation systems, because you're talking about GPS versus Beidou, but you're also talking about the geopolitical frontier, because it's a new geopolitical frontier. And I couldn't agree more with this description. So of course, which I disagree with the author in this, because he had to, he or she, because I don't know what that is, disclose information from some other scientists in the West. Of course, you know how it's going to be skewed towards that. And I made sure to disclose that to you, but you reach your own conclusion. So here is the thing. Just listen carefully. And I quote here, the United States and its international partners should evaluate more closely the effects of global reliance upon Beidou and associated infrastructure and product. Such reliance may increase states' vulnerability to the Chinese government in ways that negatively affects U.S. interests and those of its domestic allies. End of quote. You can read between the lines, guys. What are they trying to do here? They basically wanted to tell you, oh, the Beidou is so bad. The Beidou is going to be now under the control of the Chinese. That's going to hack into your information. It's like it's not like something we are not doing as we speak. Like I said to you, you take a picture, it shows up at the NSA screen with the coordinates of your exact location where the picture was taken. So what makes what China's doing wrong and what we're doing right? And usually, in my experience, both academic and professional, if you hear an argument like this, that means whomever's making that argument has no substance, has no backing of his or her arguments. He just wanted to implant those negative seeds and doubts in your mind so you will be questioning. When in reality is that we couldn't comprehend and fathom the developments, the progress, the speed by which the Chinese have evolved in the last 3 decades. This is what we have in a hard time accepting. How can China move from a poor country into now the leading in technology, leading in space, or almost leading in infrastructure? That's exactly what's at the heart of it. And that is why I wanted to do this video for you, to highlight to you, because even if the media tackle this, you know how it's going to be. So you know how it's going to be. And that's why I wanted to specifically bring this article to the surface for you. Yes, it's written nicely and all that, but you have to pay close attention to the content. When you have an article that starts with, in this paper, China's Beidou, new dimensions of great power competition. COL argued that China seeks to utilize Beidou to gain a global geopolitical advantage that will hurt U.S. interests. End of quote. Well, what are we doing? What are we doing when now, and it just came to my attention yesterday, that the US now convinced the Philippines, for example, to build a factory for ammos on the Filipino territory. So how is this not advancing our interests? And once again, what makes it wrong when China does it and it's right when we do it? So, of course, the argument is that the experts, so-called experts, are saying that the system can be used, meaning the Beidou, surveillance purposes, which add a security dimension to China's exports of technologies such as Beidou. Well, wait a minute, aren't we doing the same? The fact of the matter is this, guys. What Iran did with shutting down the GPS confirmed to other countries who were debating whether to move. Do you guys know that there are about 140 countries around the world that is now reaching out to use Beidou system? Yeah, 140 countries. And of course, there are other systems out there. You think about the European Union that develops their own. It's called Galileo. The Russians have its own. It's called the GLONASS. And of course, I will not, to me, I'm not going to mention India here because they are working on something called NAV-IC. But are you going to take India for what it says? It will be ridiculous. That's why I'm not putting it on the same sentence with China and Russia, or the EU for that matter, because it won't matter. India does not matter. Simple as that. So, and this is why I need you guys to understand this whole notion and idea of the significance. Like I asked the earlier question, the significance of Iran's decision. That is why it's important that now Iran is adopting the Chinese Beidou and shut down the GPS. So, anyway, that's all I have to say for you guys today. I wanted to share this with you, my own analysis, because I don't sort of count on what media is going to disclose. You don't. And again, it's your prerogative, your decision to listen to others, to read whatever. Just use your own judgments. You've been around with me now for long enough, and I feel comfortable saying you have developed that some sort of intellectual reasoning by which you can gauge the accuracy of the information. You have now no excuse. And do we make mistakes? Yes, of course. But it's up to you now to decide when you reach a conclusion of sort to make sure it is based on your understanding. So, Fred Ball, thank you so much for your super sticker. I can't wait to buy your upcoming books. By the way, you should do an interview with Judge Napolitano, Max Blumenthal, and Ben Norton. FYI, just to let you guys know, if you are a subscriber on their channel, I do reach out to these people, but I don't chase after people. It's just not my personality. Max Blumenthal, I just sent him an email last week. And not an email, I'm sorry. I sent him a message on X. Whether he saw it or not, I can control that. Ben Norton, I did send him a request. I know he's busy with his PhD in China and so forth. Again, didn't hear a word from, maybe he went to junk mail, maybe whatever. I don't know. Judge, I'll be happy to have him here if he's willing to come over. So I will be happy to have Judge over here. I'll be happy to show up on his channel. Usually I don't go to other people's channel much, but it just because I don't want to become just an echo chamber here. All I need to say is I need to say it once and move on to the next thing. So, but thank you so much for your support, and thank you for bringing this name. So once again, if those individuals are watching this, check your mailbox or your messages on X. I did send you a request. So in any event, guys, I look forward to seeing you next week. Remember, I have a very interesting guest coming next week. And I am also working on some very, very interesting topic that I need you to be aware of. As always, I do thank you for your continued support. Oh, by the way, someone bought me coffee as of this morning. I just saw it. Let me quickly say thank you, if you guys allow me here, because that's the right thing to do. To me, it's important. Let me just log in quickly here, please. Okay, where is it? There we go. And I have to go through security stuff to access this. That's usually how I set my things here. So bear with me here, guys. I got okay. Here we go. So where is the number? There is the number. Copy. Interesting. It's not picking it up. Hold on. Copy. There we go. All right. Let me say thank you to dashboard. Oh, Stefan Chang, thank you so much for buying me coffee. Let me share a screen with you guys because you need to see. And again, I'm very grateful for the support, guys. And I know some of you supporting the channel. So let me make this bigger for you to see right there. So Chang, I say thank you to Stephen Chang, Charles, Shirley Wee, Noel, and Asma, and Ramzi Abdurrahman. To all of you, I say thank you very much for your kind support. So, all right, guys, wishing you a good weekend, safe, whatever you are planning on doing this weekend. And I look forward to seeing you next week. As I said, I am working on some very interesting. Oh, where am I? Yeah. Sorry. Working on some key topics for you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. So, as always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.